Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Erin, my pronouns are she and her, and I serve the church as a member of your Religious Services Committee. Before we blend our voices in song, a few reminders. If you are visiting us for the first time today, you are especially welcome. Wanda at the visitors table by the door can help you get oriented if you have any questions. If you have little ones, our greeters can show you the way to the nursery, which is available during the service for children ages 6 and younger. Today's opening hymn is number 347 in your gray hymnal. It's called Gather the Spirit, and the words are not on the screens because they're not working today, sorry. Please rise in spirit or body as you're comfortable. Gather together today with sacred intention to declare that justice is our prayer. We affirm in covenant with the beloved community that is possible. Not here, not quite yet. The seeds have been planted time and again, and we remember all those who went before us, who made beloved community a dream that could be realized. Justice is our prayer. May our time of worship and service together continue to water the budding trees of our diverse interdependence. May our time of worship give air and nourishment to the parts of our collective spirits that need to grow and thrive, that embrace equity as a known way of being. Justice is our prayer. We affirm in covenant with the beloved community that is possible. May it be so. Let us worship together. If you are with us on the internet, if you are with us sitting in the chairs around me, we are one community, united in our commitment to each other and our commitment to live out our principles in the world. How will our church meet the calling of this moment in history? That was the question that drove programming at this year's General Assembly, the annual international meeting of Unitarian Universalists. Our delegates, Noel, Dana, and Alesha, report on what they saw and learned at General Assembly. At this hour, In small towns and big cities, in single rooms and ornate sanctuaries, many of our sibling Unitarian Universalist congregations are also lighting a flaming chalice. As we light our chalice today, let us remember that we are part of a great community of faith. May this dancing flame inspire us to fill our lives with the Unitarian Universalist ideals of love, justice, and truth. We are going to invite Liz to come up and help with our chalice lighting today. Liz is re-entering kindergarten through 8th grade at Hawkins Street School in Newark, New Jersey. They're going to be a music teacher there. As Liz lights the chalice, please join me in saying our vision statement, which is printed in our bulletin. We work together as a church to transform ourselves, our community, and our world by sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder. Is the wick gone? Today is our 5th Sunday. Over the past month, we have been collecting donations for State Line Abortion Access Partners, or SLAP. If you wish to make a monetary donation, you can put that in one of the white envelopes or donate online through hvuuc.org/donate with SLAP, that is SLAAP, in the memo line. This morning, we would like to invite the representatives from SLAP to talk a little bit more about what they do.
Hi. I'm a terrible public speaker, so I just want to preface all this with that. I'm here today with my friend and another founding board member, Barbara Schwartz. And we are so very thankful that you guys are having us here today. And I just want to say I suffer a little bit from what we call activist fatigue, and being here today and just feeling such a welcoming feel and such peace here. I just want to tell all of you that I'm a little emotional. I just feel really good today. And I just want to thank you all very much for having us. And I will be reading this, and again, I'm terrible, so I'll try to go as slow as I can. So my name is Stephanie Rosenwing, and like I said, I'm a founding board member at State Line Abortion Access Partners, or SLAP. We're a collective of local activists who came together to fight to protect reproductive rights here in the Appalachian Highlands and beyond, especially after the fall of Roe v. Wade. We also work to meet the needs of patients who seek abortion care in Southwest Virginia. Because as we know, when Roe v. Wade fell, a lot of the states in the South lost their rights, their abortion access. So a lot of people come to Southwest Virginia. It's kind of the closest point to a lot of the more southern states. And we also help folks in our community overcome what we call period poverty. SLAP is run entirely by volunteers, and we rely on donations to carry out our work. Our organization has several different programs. The first program I want to talk about is led by my friend Barbara Schwartz, and it's our clinic escorting program. Bristol Women's Health in Bristol, Virginia, and she also helps coordinate some escorting at Summit Medical Center in Roanoke. And these are clinics that provide safe, legal abortion care. But they are targeted weekly by folks who seek to harass the patients there. Their goal is to terrorize and threaten patients while disguising it as what they like to call Christian love. They have actually doxed and harassed clinic staff and patients. They even pose as clinic escorts in order to confuse the patients, which some have traveled many, many miles from many states away to access this safe legal care. Our organization, through Barb, helps coordinate the escorting program at Bristol Women's Health, and also is coordinating some escorting in Roanoke at the Summit Women's Center. Another one of our programs is our Last Mile Fund. And this one really gets my heart because it's been extraordinarily helpful, and we've seen how much it helps folks. This program helps patients that travel these long distances It helps them with a financial cushion. We provide a financial cushion for unplanned circumstances. Some folks may need a prepaid gas card for gas money, or maybe a few dollars for fast food while they're on the road, or maybe some money for a hotel room if they have to stay overnight. We've helped with Ubers, hotels, and other basic necessities. Another one of our programs, and this is kind of my baby, is our patient care bag program. What we do is we pack these patient care bags and we put them together at our office there in Bristol. We make around 250 of these for our Bristol clinic and our Danville, Virginia clinic. These bags include menstrual pads, a disposable heat pad, condoms, emergency contraception, pregnancy tests, Advil, some fuzzy socks, because we all need fuzzy socks. Who doesn't need fuzzy socks? And a snack, but most importantly, it contains some words of encouragement. We also have another program, and that's a program we're kind of here for today, and we call it our Positive Period Partners. We help provide menstrual supplies to our local middle schools, high schools, and our unhoused communities. And I want to say from a personal perspective, I grew up very poor here in rural Appalachia, and my family is from the coal fields deep in the Appalachian Mountains. And we were recently at an event with the Virginia Department of Health, and I actually had children in high school approach us and talk about how they didn't have access to menstrual pads, that some were being raised because of the opioid epidemic by grandparents who are on a fixed income. And I thought to myself, you know, we don't live in a third world country, but then maybe we do now. I just thought to myself, on what planet is it okay for a person in America to miss 2 weeks of school because they have endometriosis or PCOS, and they have such a horrific menstrual cycle that they can't make it to school because they don't have period products? And so we at SLAP, we're like, not on our watch. So that's kind of why we're here today. But this program has proven to be a pretty expensive program. We get some things donated to us through organizations like our Emergency Contraception, the manufacturers of Plan B, and another manufacturer called Julie. They actually donate to us, and those are starting to trickle down, trickle back some because of the current climate here in America. But there's no one that donates menstrual pads. So there's no companies that do that. So that's a huge expense for us. But we feel it's a very beneficial program. And unfortunately, there's still 19 states right here in the United States of America that actually charge a pink tax or a luxury tax for menstrual products and feminine hygiene products. And Tennessee, unfortunately, is one of those states. When I order menstrual products, I have them delivered to Virginia because we don't pay taxes. Throw a hurdle at us and we'll figure out how to get over it. But anyway, one of our other programs is our Be Prepared Free Emergency Contraception Program. And through those companies like Julie and Plan B, we've actually been able to distribute over 2,000 doses in 2025 alone of Plan B, or the morning after. It's commonly called the morning after pill. These pills, if you go to Walgreens for a brand name Plan B, it's $49.99. The other brand, Julie, is like $39.99. And I always think about college students, because I was a college student many years ago, and I just remember I could barely afford books, much less if the condom broke and I needed emergency contraception, what would I do? So we're able to provide those for free, and using our QR code at our website, we actually mail those out. And we know you have 72 hours to use those, but we actually get those out in the community and we'll overnight express them. But anyway, that's another one of that's kind of the last program I wanted to talk about. But I want to wrap this up by saying we work with so many other partners, and partnering with a community like you guys, and you guys doing this for us and helping us with this, is absolutely, it absolutely helps us. We couldn't do this work without you guys. And I want to talk about our name real quick. It's State Line Abortion Access Partners, and the partners is important. So we just wanted to let you know that through your donations and volunteering and other support, we hope to expand our programs and our advocacy all over the Appalachian Highlands. And thank you for having us here.
Come to this community with all that you are. Your joys and your concerns are welcome here. We share our moments of joys and sorrows with us through using these candle cards, if you are with us in person, or by emailing Reverend Tiffany at minister@hvuuc.org with the words candle card in the subject line. Please make sure to indicate whether or not you would like the card read aloud in the service, which is being broadcast publicly on YouTube. The process of lighting a candle will not show any individuals on the YouTube video. This morning I have one, and this is a candle of joy and gratitude from Reverend Tiffany herself. It says, "I am so grateful and joyful to be back from sabbatical today." Yeah. Many of you know and love my mom, Cynthia Anderson. This month, my sister and I have worked together to move her into an assisted living community in Northern Virginia, 10 minutes away from her youngest grandchild. She is doing quite well there. Thank you for weekly? I can't read your word.
I don't remember what but thank you for making the space for me to take care of my family. I really appreciate you guys so much.
If you wish to light your own silent candle, approach the side of the table that is closest to you, and the closer candle keepers will assist you. This is also the time that kids can put money for the kids' collection plates. The children voted on what cause they would like to support, and they voted to give money to alleviate hunger in the Tri-Cities, and their basket is there next to the table. Please light the candles at the back of the table first so that no one has to reach over an open flame. And if you wish for us to light a candle for you, please raise your hand until I acknowledge you, and I will ensure a candle is lit for your intention. Our community is so much larger than just those of us who are in the building this morning, so we light a candle to hold space for those who are not physically present with us, but are ever in our hearts. light a final candle for all that remains unspoken in our hearts and minds.
You didn't bring my box for me to stand on, Sarah. I feel like the laughing little girl that sat in the chair, you know. What was her name? Something. Yes, Edith Ann. That's how I feel right now. Okay, so we are lucky that we are able to report out on the General Assembly, the 2025 General Assembly, which was called Meet Me in the Moment, and it was a framework to help Unitarian Universalists ask the most important questions together of how are we called to respond in this complex time we're in, nimbly, skillfully, deeply, and grounded in our values. The Meet Me in the Moment framework was a resource for all Unitarian Universalists to create the future of our faith together by engaging in shared tools and asking similar questions across the faith. It was designed to do six things. First, and it's still going. It's not just stopped. So you can go to the GA site and look at Meet Me in the Moment and find out more about it. But it was designed to bring UUs into a relationship across congregations and regions and nationalities, to build relationships between folks who are holding similar work and facing similar issues in different contexts, to strengthen our shared analysis about what's happening right now, both within our UUism and in the world around us, to create containers for UUs to innovate creative solutions and shared learning and wisdom on a large scale to avoid reinventing the wheel at each church. It also supports the cycles of experimentation and evaluation in which we try new things, see what's working, and use our learning to refine and recalibrate our practices as we go. So why did I ask to go to GA? I actually was at GA visually in 2020 when COVID hit, but it's nothing like actually going to the GA. So, and I'm fairly young in my UU experience. I've only been a UU since 2013. So I wanted to experience who are those other folks out there? What are they like? Who are they? And to learn more about our religion. Second, if you ask Bob, I'm a fairly driven person. So I spent a lot of time wondering how to take action and how to make Bob take action in light of this daily assault that we're getting from this administration. And you know, I worked in Washington for 17 years, and actually, I've kind of been in government 55 years of my 68 years because I grew up in a military household, and then I worked for the government for 34 years. And so family disobedience was not allowed because my dad was a colonel in the Army, much less civil disobedience. And then I ended up working for the government for 37 years, which goes by policies and procedures, and you never break policies and procedures. So this is really hard for me. How do I do this, you know, in my own thing? So I wanted to learn, what are the things saying? And this was the perfect time to hear lots of different opportunities and ways that people can be civil disobedient, even in my own life. And so the second thing is, I was the chief executive officer for my agency in Washington, so I love spreadsheets and balance sheets, which very few people like, but I love them. And so, you know, I was over $3 billion, and I wanted to know. I had no idea how much it took to run the UUA. So I really loved that session that we went to, and I'm going to ask you a question here. How much do you think it cost to run our organization, the UUA? Just guess.
$5
Not enough. Okay, I'm going to tell you that. How much? 20. Okay, you're getting close. So I'm going to tell you this in a minute, because I look for waste because I was raised by that, and I was very impressed with how the organization is run, and I'm going to give you in a minute how that is. And then finally, I wanted to find out about more UUA programs, and there are hundreds. I mean, I was shocked to learn all the different programs that are available, and I urge you to go to the UUA. There is something for every person that will expand you and help you meet people across the nation and the world. But first, back to the financial strategies. So it actually, in 2025, they budgeted to be at 31 million. They expect to exceed that and actually be at 34.8 million by the end of the year. This was in June. And then they do a moderate growth, about a 5% growth each year. So by 29, they hope to be at 37 million. So that's, that's a 4 or 5% growth. And it really is interesting to see. Of course, the largest part of that comes from the churches. The 7 million of that comes from us. And I'm very proud that we are a church that we pay our pledge, or whatever it's called. Fair share, yeah. But, they get bequests, which are $1 million. They get donor fundraising, which is $3 million. They get certain types of grants, which is about $2 million. They have an endowment, which is $2 million. And so on and on, but all of them are about 1.5 million that add up to that 31 million. So I was impressed with the organization, how it is being run, how their budgeting is done. The financial officer, I thought, did a very nice part of that. So that answered that question for me. How much does it cost to run this? And I am proud that our church is part of that, in that. Then I spent a lot of my time going to organizations or sessions, because there were online sessions and there were sessions that you could go in person. I went mostly to in-person sessions. And I felt like a lot of them were on protesting, which I also wanted to know more about. And I felt like it was kind of back to the past and going to the future, because a lot of our speakers were from the Black civil rights movements, which was interesting to me to hear what they thought. So I'm going to quote a lot of things that I heard, not talk a lot, just the quotes, because that alone, for me to write down, meant a lot to me. There was a quote from Frances Harper, a 19th century abolitionist and suffragette, who said, "Society cannot trample on the weakest and feeblest of its members without receiving a curse in its own soul." Other speakers said, "Don't comply in advance. Push back. You deserve safety, belonging, and affirmation." There were discussions there of how to create a refuge from the systems that are being developed to annihilate what we have today. You have to have a strategy. I do strategic planning, and this is the first time I kind of heard it put this way. This is not strategic planning. This is a strategy that may need to change every day because of what we're going through. And they said a good strategy has 6 components. It has a sense of scope. What are you trying to do and how big is it? It has a focus. What are you trying to do that day and what are you trying not to do? There are tools. What are the resources that you have to have? And what can you reallocate to something you may have thought you already needed? There's a sequence. There's an order of the actions to be efficient and to make a difference. The impact has to be clear, and you need to go where you need to go and how you're going to get there. And what are the barriers? What are the barriers that are preventing us from getting there? So this is not strategic planning. This is a very flexible thing that can change and is dynamic. What we don't know what we will be in the news tomorrow. And so we're having to react every day. And don't waste your time on people that don't want to succeed without a strategy, just because it takes time to do it effectively. So what do we need to do? We need to, don't silo. We have to collaborate and share resources among the people that are working toward this. We need to go onward and upward, create circles of learning and reflection. Everyone can participate in their own way. There is not one way. Move to a shared mission with a sense of humility. Move from a culture of critique towards a positive yes. What can we do with X, Y, Z, and where can we go today? One of the best speakers I heard from was Gloria Brown Marshall, and I came up to her legs. She was the tallest black woman I have ever seen. I asked her if she played basketball, but she said no. But she is a professor of constitutional law at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, CUNY, I think is what they call it. She teaches classes in constitutional law, race and law, evidence, and gender and justice. And here are quotes that she said from her session. Channel rage into activity. Provide the power of hope. You don't have to have 100% participation. Serving in any capacity is a protest. Many ways to protest. 2, 1 is surviving. 2 is standing up for yourself. In her historical view of black protesting, she went back to many famous people in the civil rights movement. And what I thought was interesting, she said, you white people are late to this effort. You got to get going. She talked about Harriet Tubman. Of course, being in Maryland, Bob and I know a lot about Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass because they're both from there. And Harriet Tubman said, I freed thousands of slaves. I could have freed thousands more if they only knew they were slaves. And what she said is many of the people were freed did not understand they were slaves because they had grown up this way. So she said it was the frog in the water that you start with low heat and it just keeps boiling, but because it's so comfortable, you don't get out of it. I thought that was really impactful to me. So she said there were 9 quotes of Frederick Douglass, and I'll start with number 9 and go down to 1, that she really liked. 1, number 9, is find out just what people will quietly submit to, and you have the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed on them. Number 8, where justice is denied, where poverty is enforced, where ignorance prevails, and where any one class is made to feel a society is a organized conspiracy to oppress, rob, and degrade them, neither persons nor property will be safe. Number 7, a white man's happiness cannot be purchased on the back of black man's misery. Number 6, I prayed for freedom for 20 years, but received no answer until I prayed with my legs. Number 5, it is not the light we need, but the fire. It is not the gentle shower, but the thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, and the earthquake. Number 4, I would unite with anybody to do right and with nobody to do wrong. Number 3, power concedes nothing without demand. It never did, and it never will. Number 2, it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And number 1, there is no struggle. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. She said that Frederick Douglass's 1857 speech, and I went back and read it, that there is no struggle if there is no progress. And he said that for those that profess to favor freedom and yet depreciate agitation are men who want crops without plowing up the ground, which being a farmer, that means a lot to me. This analogy illustrates that those who want the benefits of freedom without necessary effort and struggle are unrealistic and short-sighted. She spoke of the phrase from Martin Luther King, "Don't sleep through the revolution," which was a call to action urging people to remain alert and actively engaged in ongoing social, political, and transformations, much like his 1968 sermon, Remaining Awake Through the Revolution, which I just reread. The sermon uses the story of Rip Van Winkle, who slept through the American Revolution, to illustrate the danger of sleeping through modern-day social changes, such as those of technology, weaponry, and human rights. Gloria said that demonstration causes attention to a problem. One protest doesn't end the insanity. She asked us, what do you stand for in UU? And she says, I thought it was for diversity, equity, inclusion, peace, and values, which is all what we need now. And she looked at us and said, is that what you stand for? one of her conclusions on this administration, which I heard this 10 years ago in college, is that the reason the president and others want deportation of people of color is because studies show that by 2045, we will become a country where the majority are people of color. They called it cafe au lait, that we would be a country of cafe au lait by 2045. It's just 20 years away. She said, this is important, find a common concern, not what we are for, not just what we are against. And that alliance with others, because I like this too, doesn't mean is permanent. That's why you need to be with different people. It's just a date. It's not a marriage. So don't get excited. You don't have to be with the same folks all the time, although I'm with Bob forever. It said find commonalities of purpose between your groups and use it within what you're doing. So you are strong inside and out. And she said, you got to have leather of a rhinoceros. If you don't want to protest, sign a check. And she said, the best people to study are labor unions because they know how to create the actions of this. So for my homework, I am reading this book, which is, help me, Tiffany, Deepa Iyer. How do you say her name? Ira.
There you go.
Okay. Which is a great book, and it talks about all the different types of people. There are 10 types of people that you need for protesting, and it's everything from experimenters to caregivers and actual people protesting. So we as UUs...
We have 2 others as well.
Okay. We as UUs, you shouldn't have said you could talk as long as I want. Okay. We need to be, what they said in the end is that we need to be storytellers of alternative religious life. We are a religion, and that we need to live up to our story, and that we need to look at the urgent needs, and that UUs can work in this. And this was my favorite. Anytime you speak to somebody about your beliefs, say, I am speaking from a person of faith, because we are a faith.
I'm Noel, she, her, and I have a joke. The human brain is amazing. It functions 24/7 from the day you were born and stops when you sit to write. That is a challenge I faced when asked to give a 7-minute talk about my experience at UU General Assembly. There were so many talks and breakout sessions that it was almost impossible to choose where to go, to what, when. Thankfully, GA uses an app. It's called Whova, and it is essential to navigating the expanse of the assembly. For this talk, I decided to just focus on only one facet, the congregational study action issues, CSAIs. And I'm probably going to say Cassie instead of CSAI, although it's not spelled exactly like that. But congregational study action issues are issues selected by Unitarian Universalist congregations for 3 years of study, reflection, and action. The purpose is to provide member congregations of the association with an opportunity to mobilize energy, ideas, and resources around a common issue. The end result is a deeper understanding of our religious position, a clear statement of association policy, as expressed in a statement of conscience, and a greater capacity for congregations to take effective action. In the 3rd year of the process, delegates at GA, they vote to approve a statement of conscience, an SOC, resulting from 2 years of the congregational feedback on the CASI. So that was one of our duties as a delegate. 3 of these CASIs were presented, and then as delegates, we voted on which one would be a 3-year study. That doesn't mean you can't study the other issues, but that was the one that was selected by everyone who was there, over the 3,000 people that attended the General Assembly. So as one of HVUC's 3 delegates, we each had the privilege of voting on issues brought before the Assembly. I was particularly interested in the CASI as the topics are timely and given plenty of time to study and evaluate, and so many resources. There are 3 topics up for a vote this year. I will go through them briefly and tell you the rest of the story. So the first is abolition of faith formation, sponsored by the Church of the Larger Fellowship. Abolition is a holistic approach to systemic social change that includes, but is not limited to, abolition of slavery, replacing systems and cultures of violence, coercion, and control with transformative justice and relational practices, and dismantling the prison industrial complex as we now know it. So it requires a transformation of our society and the replacement of our current public theologies of retributive justice and violence. I knew I was going to stumble on that word. I should have just skipped it. Okay, so the second proposal was fat liberation, building justice and inclusion for larger bodies, something I had never thought about. This CASI is sponsored by the Community Church UU in Louisiana and also one in New Haven, Connecticut. Fat people are discriminated against in healthcare, employment, and housing, and stigmatized in all areas of life. Fat liberation, and they had an author in a book all about this issue, fat liberation seeks to end this injustice, which exists at the intersection of racism, sexism, ableism, and capitalism. By studying weight bias, UUs can advocate for the acceptance of all bodies. And the third proposal was entitled Housing Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and was sponsored by 7 UU churches in Florida. I think there's a problem there and elsewhere. Their topic, access to housing that is safe, affordable, and sustainable, will reduce suffering and save lives. Millions of people seek adequate shelter in the United States. Federal support for housing assistance is being reduced. No surprise there. In response, communities can help each other in organizing housing justice. So I came into the auditorium to hear the presentations and realized that I had missed half the presentations, even though I had arrived on time. We were then asked to vote, and I did my best I could based on what I had read about each topic. The next day, however, we were informed that there would have to be a revote because each presenter was not given equal time to present due to a scheduling mishap. So, all 3 of the CASIs were represented to be fair to all the work that went into these topics. And believe me, the work was amazing. The resources and the research that they did, you got to look at it. Then there was another twist. This time, the voting was changed to using ranked choice voting, RCV. Not sure what that is? Let me play you a 2-minute clip next Sunday. And guess what? The results this time were different. In fact, I had originally voted for the housing proposal, as that is near and dear to my heart. However, after hearing the full abolition presentation, I realized what the Church of the Larger Fellowship addressed. They addressed the root cause of every of the other CASIs. They addressed all the issues, including housing, fat liberation. Evidently, there are many others that felt the same way that I did. Indeed, the result from the first vote had the housing CASI the winner. Whereas after the ranked choice voting, after the ranked choice voting, abolition was chosen for the 3-year study. And it really widened my idea because I thought of abolition only relating to slavery. I didn't realize how it would go to the underlying infrastructures of all the decisions that are made about our governance. In summary, I was particularly pleased to be able to experience, one, how UU was fair and adjusted its procedures as necessary. And two, I got to experience ranked choice voting for real. I can't experience that in this state because the legislature has voted to disallow it. Even though Memphis, the citizens of Memphis voted to have ranked choice voting, and the legislator went and overruled them and said no ranked choice voting in this state. So there are states, Maine and Alaska, that use it even for federal elections, but it can be used at all levels of government. So please visit the UU website and dig deep into these proposals because they are so rich with information and resources. And I'm going to borrow something from Stephanie and talk about Plan B. We didn't know whether the video would work or not, so here's my Plan B. It is an insert. It gives you the winning proposal, what Cassie is all about, the winning proposal, and then it has a resource where you can look at these more in depth, as well as a resource on ranked choice voting. Then come see me in the Fred Ballroom and vote for your favorite candy bar, because we are doing some ranked choice voting there. I'm right next to the slap table. So I'll let you know which one comes out top next week. So I will also have a fact sheet on RCV for you to photograph if you want to study this. It's a way that could revolutionize and solve so many of the problems we have with voting in this country. Thank you so much.
I've collected everything. First of all, thank you everybody so much for putting your faith in me to be a delegate for the first time this year. I really feel like these opportunities equip me with ways that allow me to give back and improve my world around me. And we also passed a lot of great votes at the conference and stuff. Noel talked about that. I was really happy with how that went. I want to talk about that a whole lot more, but we're already pressed for time. So for now, I'm just going to give my perspective as a trans attendee to GA. The theme of the year was called Meet the Moment, and meet the moment we did. One of the first things I remember arriving in Baltimore was learning that the Scrimeti decision had been made that day. And after 8 hours of driving, I hadn't checked the news yet, so I didn't know what was going on, but the Supreme Court had upheld Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for minors. I was obviously upset with this, but what struck me more was how I found out. That night in my Airbnb, I opened my conference agenda and saw the UUA had scheduled an emergency special session the next morning. Two of their best lawyers walked us through what the decision would mean for trans kids, trans adults, and their families, and the precedent that it could set for other states, and how we could resist in ways that kept us safe. They grounded us in reality, and then they opened the floor for questions. Most of the questions actually weren't from trans people. They were from parents, grandparents, teachers, healthcare workers, desperate to help their trans beloveds. Every time someone shed a tear asking how to protect a child they know, it felt like they were begging to learn how to protect me. And while the lawyers were clear about the danger, they were still optimistic. They said this isn't the end of the road and we shouldn't give up hope. And each time somebody walked away from that somewhat reassured, I breathed a very heavy sigh of relief with them. The UUA didn't have to do this. It would have been easier to stick to the agenda and release some boilerplate statement and just move on, but they didn't. They understood that what happens to trans people will affect everyone, and what starts in one state can spread across the nation. Only a handful of Tennesseans were actually in the room, but about 40 or 50 others showed up as well. They were sharing the same outrage, the same grief, and also the same determination. They saw, as the UUA saw, a grave injustice and deep violation of our values unfolding in this state. And I think we all saw a little bit of ourselves in each other. So we sighed together, we cried together, we learned together, and most importantly, we pledged to fight back together. So right after that, I went to a workshop called the Building Trans Justice, Safety, and Belonging. The first part was interactive. We answered questions and some responses were read aloud so we could hear each other's perspectives. For trans attendees, we were asked to share memories of trans joy in UU spaces. My answer wasn't read, but y'all better believe that I bragged on all of you. I had a wealth of experiences to pull from in this congregation. And hearing others share similar stories gave me an affirming sense of connection despite being strangers. The next segment was a little heavier. The moderator reminded us of the many challenges facing trans people and how surveys show that too many trans people still feel excluded even in the UU. We were invited, if we were comfortable, to share and reflect on times that we felt marginalized. And honestly, I struggled to think of many examples myself, but not all congregations are alike, and many others shared stories that were hard to hear, but they needed to be heard. So from there, we shifted into imagining trans refuge, going beyond saying we accept you to truly creating welcoming spaces. And I obviously don't have time to get into all the details of what the moderator said, but I did bring something home to share because I hate walking away from an event like this without a new tool added to my toolbox to materially build change at home. But I tell you, he handed us an entire upright tool chest. I have a Google Doc that is full of trans resources, mostly UU centered, but also UU approved. There are things for trans people, for people who want to be better allies, for those who don't know much about us yet, for those who want to debunk transphobic talking points, and most importantly, just anybody who wants to make a community more intentionally inclusive. And you can find it with me after church because we don't have screens. So throughout the weekend, I did participate in a lot of other stuff too. I made lots of great connections with organizers and leaders and did some other helpful workshops, very amazing church services, voted on some cool stuff. Again, I want to talk more about it, but not now. There was also lots of spiritual fellowship from the other delegates with me and the UUA as a whole the entire time. The last thing I'll talk about is my favorite part was the WHERE lecture. The WHERE lecture is the yearly kind of keynote address they do at the UUGA conference. Our speaker was a trans activist with a resume a mile long. Imara Jones spoke about trans rights as human rights. She started out, justice is a verb. We all know that, right? Justice is a verb. We know that justice is not a faint hope or an ethereal belief, but justice is a hard road practice. And to fulfill the promise of justice, you have to remain steadfast at the darkest of times. In fact, that's when it counts the most. She then expertly defined all the ways that trans suffering is not just connected to injustices against everyone else, but in fact is a warning sign, a canary in the coal mine, that what is being done to trans people will be done to everyone else as well if it's not already. She expounded upon the ways that trans discrimination doesn't only hurt us, it's currently hurting cis people as well. And then reminded us how the people in charge, now making everyone's lives miserable, campaigned on a big transphobic promise to get rid of us. But she also cautioned that even if you didn't buy into that narrative, the indifference to our struggle, not fighting back on that point, still serves the same end. They're seeing what they can get away with, what you will allow them to do. And all they have to do to turn it on you next is dehumanize you the same way they've done to us. Knowing that she probably wasn't speaking to any bigots in the audience, she mostly spoke to the far too common, well-intentioned moderate. She made it clear that you can't just say you support trans people because it makes you feel good and progressive. You have to really act on it and take on a share of the weight that we're all carrying. You have to act as though it affects you personally, because it definitely will if it doesn't already. But even deeper than that, you have more in common with a single oppressed person than you have with every oppressor combined. And that passiveness towards the oppression of one group, no matter how small, will snowball quickly into oppression against us all. In this way, she grounded us in our interdependence and our shared beliefs, and reminded us of the interconnectedness of our lives and the collective human experience. So after some immediate calls to action for ways to support trans people, she wrapped up by telling us what this means is that you have to actually live your values. Because democracy is a verb, because righteousness is a verb, because justice is a verb. It is really important to remember that the way we'll get out of the moment is us. The answer is us. The answer is to believe in yourself. The answer is to believe in the fundamental goodness of people. The answer is to believe in the principles you say you live by. That is the way we will be saved. When the lecture was over, I ran up near the stage because I wanted to take photos and maybe try to meet Miss Jones. But she was quickly ushered off the stage by a group of some of the most prominent trans leadership in the UUA. And I stayed back so I wouldn't interrupt. But I forgot in that moment that this is not a cult of celebrities. This is a church of inclusive welcoming. They saw me standing sheepishly nearby, and one of them said, "Hey, you in the pink, you look like you belong over here with us." And they drew me in with open arms like I was a long-lost friend. Honestly, it felt like being rescued by the trans UU Avengers. But it was really a great reminder of why I love UUs and how I want to behave as a UU myself. So I think I can report back to you that everyone involved lived up to the task at hand to meet the moment of that day. It's also important to remember that we have to meet the moment every day. And if we keep seeing ourselves in others and drawing inspiration from our community, we'll continue to be the best UUs we can be.
And our hearts, if there is a flame. Let us carry forward the strength of this community, the courage to speak truth, and the hope that transformation is possible. In each breath we take, may we remember that the work of love, justice, and healing is ours to continue, both here and beyond these walls. Go in peace with the light of this gathering to illuminate your way. All of my announcements got changed last minute this morning, so hopefully I will get this in the right order. We thank you for being with us today. This Friday night is women's group, and all are welcome. If you wish for more information, email womensgroup@hvuuc.org. We will be starting roofing construction this coming Thursday, weather permitting. This will happen for the foreseeable future. We ask for your patience and caution as our building goes under construction. Safety is our top priority, and any questions can be sent to facilities@hvuuc.org, or you can talk to Noel. You can learn more about the many opportunities for fellowship, justice work, and working together by visiting our website, hvuuc.org, and checking out our news and events section. And now Denise is going to come up and say a little bit about next Saturday's dance party.
There are some of us who don't know each other. So Saturday night from 5 to 9, we're going to dance here. It's Dancing in the Street is the title. It was originally offered as an auction item, but now we want to open it to everybody. There will be street food, not necessarily health food, street food from around the world. And we will have a DJ with music from multiple decades and multiple genres. It's $10 a head if you didn't already buy it, or $25 maximum for a family. If you want to come, grab 3 or 4 friends, call yourself a family, and come for $25. We want to have a party. We got about 50 already. We would like to fill the sanctuary and get to know each other better and strengthen our sense of community.
I'd like to bring Alesha up to help us say goodbye to Liz.
Liz, you thought you could get away that easy without me dragging you back.
I already moved. I don't know what I'm doing here today.
Liz has already started their move away, but we had to tell you goodbye properly. Facebook reminded me last week that we've been friends for 3 years now. It would have been about 3 years ago that I started coming back after several years away from the church, and I was really happy to see new young faces not only enjoying church, but engaging in the music. So since then, your role in our music has developed more and more, and I've seen other people grow with you because of you. You helped us restart our music committee. You've taken on all kinds of administrative tasks, organizing the music. You've given us all kinds of solo and band performances and done a fantastic job directing our choir. I'm pretty jealous of those kids in New Jersey. I think they're going to get the best music director or the best music teacher that I can think of. Even though people our age tend to just message each other on the internet anytime we want, I'm still going to really miss your physical presence here. On behalf of the board and the music committee and the religious services committee, we want to wish you the best of luck in your journey, your teaching career, your marriage, your everything that life's going to throw at you in the coming years. And we're eternally blessed by your contributions here, so we wanted to bless you with something as well.
I know we're already going over, but I love everybody here so much, and thank you for everything that you've done for me and everything you've allowed me to do to you with the music. I really appreciate everything here, and I already miss being here every week so much.
We're so happy for you, Liz, and we all love Liz.
Our closing hymn for this month is We Are, which is number 1051 in the teal hymnal. And this is also when we will pass the offering plate. If you're making a pledge payment, please mark it as such. And if you would like to donate to SLAP or any other Fifth Sunday offering through the HVUUC website, please make sure that you note in the place to add instructions that the donation is for Fifth Sunday. Remember, if you use PayPal, there is a 3% fee, and thank you so much for your contributions. Please rise with us in body or spirit for our closing hymn, We Are, number 1051. I don't mean go in mindless oblivion. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go without challenging yourself or others. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in utter ease and comfort. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace seeking justice. I mean go in peace, committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. When I say go in peace, I mean go in the peace that is created when together we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. So go in peace. May it be so.